Hey folks, welcome to another episode of 5 to 15 with Musickers. I'm your host, Jason DeCristofaro, and I'm thrilled to be my friend Melissa McKinney here today. Melissa, thank you so much for being with us. Melissa does so many things in the Asheville, West North Carolina community and beyond, which we'll talk about in a bit. She's a songwriter, a professional vocalist. She has a band, Mom and the Ruckus, and does a lot of different projects in the community. But she also has a pretty prolific career, I'd say. You've touched a lot of people's lives as an educator, and not just in the sense of being a teacher. And what I want to talk about today is some other sides of what you've done as an educator, particularly as a small business owner of Stages Music School in Princeton, West Virginia, as well as the One Voice Project, which kind of defies location. It's in multiple places. So I guess what I'm curious about is, your background, if I'm not mistaken, was in music education, correct?
Yes.
And you went from that to being a small business owner. So what prompted that decision to open a music school with Stages Music School?
Well, it's definitely an accident. I wanted to be a professional singer. That's all I wanted to do. And everybody said I had to have something to fall back on, which is how I ended up in music education as a major, but I did not want to be a teacher. It was just the last thing I wanted to do. But then I accidentally, when I had my daughter, I got a job at a charter school and got to start a music program at this charter school and just fell in love with teaching. And it was definitely where I was supposed to be. I did that for a while. That was when I was living in Charlotte, North Carolina. And then as a single parent, things got pretty hard. And I had this opportunity to move back to West Virginia to open this school in this dilapidated town. So all the property was incredibly cheap.
Yeah.
And with the help of my family, refurbished this building and started this school.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So how long did that process take? Because I think a lot of times people see the finished product of, oh, here's the school, here's the business. But there's a lot of work that goes into actually opening a music school. So what are some of the initial stages before day one with lessons? If somebody's interested in opening a music school, that they should think about based on your experience?
Well, this building was dilapidated, so we had to do a lot of cleaning, a lot of painting, and I had a lot of help with that side of it because it's definitely not my forte. And really, I got my business license. I got a program to keep track of financial stuff, but I really had no clue what I was doing. I just jumped in with just a deep passion for kids and about what I felt was a special way of reaching people through music, and with a bigger passion to give people an opportunity to use their voice for good in their community. And that's where kind of always my passion lied, with the teaching.
That's amazing. So the first few years you were open, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you opened Stages Music School in 2008.
Yes.
The first couple of years you were open, you were offering music lessons. In addition to music lessons, how did it transform? What were some other things that grew out of teaching music lessons?
So when I first opened, it was just myself, and I hired another teacher right off the bat. His name's James Hart. He's still there. So he's been there 16 years, and James is he's a gem. I always told people he's just like me, but just had a deeper knowledge. So kids would start out with me if they were beginners. And then when they get to a certain level, they move on to him. But then we grew really fast because there was nothing else like it. We did have a college who did private music lessons, but only classical music. And so we were getting all the kids who wanted to do jazz or rock or country, a lot of country, and a lot of contemporary Christian, bluegrass. So we grew super fast, way faster than I could keep up with. It was wild, but really special. And everything, I called it a performance-oriented curriculum because we would do performances regularly. And so we would have shows at the school. We would do things anytime there was an opportunity to connect with somebody who's needed to raise money for a charity or whatever. We would go out, we'd do their music, and so my kids grew up regularly performing. And so something kind of sad happened. In 2011, we lost a child in our community to suicide, and it rocked. So many of my students went to school with him, and it was a very pivotal moment in our community. People were mourning. My daughter wrote a song about him called Invisible Scars, He was bullied incessantly, and so were so many of my other students. And so it started a conversation, a community conversation, and my daughter got asked to share the song several times in different places, and we saw the power in the healing for other people. Like, oh, I went through that. Oh, I've been there. Like, and so we started this performance stuff, started getting bigger, and we started taking our shows into schools. And so then they kept getting bigger. And my brother-in-law and sister, their business was next door, and he's a sound engineer and a videographer. He does everything. He's incredible. And then my sister is the grant writer. But anyhow, so we started doing these bigger shows, and we started touring, and we probably touched 40,000 kids.
That's
like
amazing.
in the time that we did this. Yeah, it was crazy.
And so this is where we talked about this a little bit before the interview, but the One Voice project kind
Yes,
of came out of this. Can you
yeah.
tell us a little bit about the One Voice project, its mission, and what it's doing today? Because it's been around for a while, but it's
Yeah.
still very active.
Yeah. So it started out just like in the schools, and it was just a very grassroots thing. Like, it was not planned. It was just like me following my heart and like following what my kids needed. They needed an outlet to share their voices, and so we started doing these tours with the One Voice project, and it turned into an artist development program because the kids, we were literally on the road touring, and they would help us setting up the sound, tearing down the sound. They would help with the posters. They would talk to the kids. They were signing autographs. They were doing all of the things that we would do if we're going out and working as professional musicians. They got business cards. They had signs with their names on them. They had their own Facebook pages. And the mission of One Voice was to show artists how they could use their voice to make positive change in their community while also growing as an artist. And then we had kids, like we just had a kid right now on The Voice this year that went really far in The Voice. We have a kid at just one of them went to Oberlin and is now getting her master's degree at some other crazy college.
That's wonderful.
In classical guitar. But she started out playing funk and pop music, and now she's like this classical guitar master. And all of the kids, we had a kid at Wake Forest. We have kids touring professionally now. It was just an accident, and I think that the business side of it, like when you have passion for something and then you turn it into a business, like you're just kind of like I don't know, it's kind of like a snowball, just all in your heart.
Well, I think the incredible thing about the One Voice project is it started from this place of love, and it started from this place of realizing that everyone has agency, but I don't think they realize they have it, and create this opportunity where young people can exercise their agency and have their voice heard, and then connect with other people their age and share this positive message, while also, just on a very pragmatic side, getting this real-world experience of what's it actually like to be a professional musician, not just playing the instrument, but touring, running sound, relationships with audiences and community members. And this is interesting to me because, so you've already told us about all these different hats you wore and beyond just teaching. But another big thing you do is grant writing. And so I guess tell us a little bit about how you got into that, sort of what led you into that aspect of your career. And then just some advice you would give, because one thing we were talking about before the interview was how it's changed.
Yeah. So my sister is also was a big part of the community that I was in. She actually had business beside me, and she's the one who talked me into going back there and said, we're rebuilding this town. We're going to take this dilapidated town that was in the southern West Virginia, and we're going to repair it, and we're going to use arts and music and heart to and so anyway, she was writing grants. She taught me how to write grants, and really back then when we were first doing with it 15 years ago, grants were mostly for nonprofits. There wasn't a whole lot of grants available out there for people who were a for-profit business, and I was a for-profit business.
Right.
But there were you can write grants and have an umbrella nonprofit who kind of serves as your fiscal sponsor. And so we were writing all these grants and using our community agency that we worked with all the time to help develop this town. And so they would be our fiscal agent. We would write the grants, and a lot of it was just about finding a way to put your passion into words, and then you'd have to have good video and good pictures, and it was so much work and a lot of repetitive stuff. And what we learned after time was to keep every application we did stored, so then you could just grab it for the next one. But we spent a lot of time writing them and a lot of time not getting them.
Yeah.
A lot of time not getting them. But then after getting better at it, we started getting lucky. And once you start to get into that grant world, then it becomes easier. And also now there are a lot of grant agencies who don't want to just serve nonprofits. They want to serve individuals who are doing things that cause lasting change. Not just something that's going to help you that year, but something that's going to, help long run. So I think as far as that world goes, learning how to just express what I was passionate about and putting it down on paper was a big piece of it, but it was hard. It's still hard. Now here at Leaf, I get to help with some grants, but it's not just me all by myself.
Right, there's a team of people.
Yes, yeah.
Well, and so I think there's also, and I'm not really in the grant writing world, but I imagine that depending on your discipline and your experience, there's going to be different aspects of writing a grant. So from the music education side, for people who might be, especially young people who are graduating from school and maybe they're performers or they're starting their own business, what are some tips you would give them about grant writing in the music industry?
I think there's a lot of grants out there that people don't know about. So I think like doing some research about what your arts council like in your community offers first is a great place to start. I think that if you are going to write a grant for yourself as an individual, as an artist, like getting 2 or 3 or 5 people to review it for you to catch little mistakes, because that is one thing in the grant world. Like your grammar has to be perfect, and you don't want any mistakes. You want to make sure all your links work. You want to make sure that you've sent that email out to a couple people to double check you to make sure you haven't done anything wrong, and also not to get frustrated, because unfortunately grants, they're like a 50-50 kind of thing sometimes. Like you just never know exactly what they're looking for. And boy, I have done some grants where I thought I was a shoo-in. All of their little things they wanted, I felt like my organization was, and I didn't get them. And it can be really disheartening and make you want to give up. But I think that just keep at it.
Well, it's like being a musician. I mean, rejection, everybody experiences rejection at some point, so you just have to be resilient and remember, it's what you said, you do it from a place of love and passion, and, then it will come through, and it will happen. So I think that's really good advice. Before we go here, you've done so much, and you've impacted so many people's lives, and you continue to do that, really with any aspect of music. This doesn't just have to be in the Stages Music School or One Voice Project or grant writing, but just any aspect of music. What are some goals you have short term and long term, looking to the future right now?
Gosh, well, I've spent what feels like most of my adult life raising my daughter and raising all these young musicians, and it has given me such great joy. And I thought for a minute after the pandemic that I wasn't going to go back to teaching, but it's a part of me that is always going to be something I do, and I love doing it here at Leaf. But being able to take that passion now and put it into my own music, what I've realized, I set it aside for so long, but what I realized is that my voice is important too. And I think, I just put all of my energy and time into children, and but also like being able to realize that, oh gosh, my own voice can impact my community, and I can do good things as my own self now, and it's really exciting. And it's kind of like starting a whole new life. I think taking all of the no's and all of the hard times, and like being able to put that into a different part of my career now. It's really fun, and it's also exciting for me to show my kids that you don't have to be in your young 20s to get out there and have a music career. And I can't believe it. I'm getting to do the things that I'm getting to do. So
Never too late.
Yes,
right?
yeah,
Never too late.
That's a good one.
Wonderful. Well, before we go, where can people learn more about Stages Music School and the One Voice Project and what you do?
All of this stuff's on MelissaMcKinneymusic.com. I have different tabs for all of the different projects that I have my hands in.
Great. MelissaMcKinneymusic.com. Y'all check it out. Melissa, thank you so much.
You.
Really appreciate it. Everyone have a great day.